Alrighty then, let's have a look at some automobile and or truck models. Now I set all of these aside months and months ago to work on client builds, but I pulled them back out because I'm getting ready to finish up 2 builds and I'm going to work on 1 or 2 of these. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'll explain here in a minute, but let me show you what I got. We'll look at the cars first and then look at the trucks a little bit later. Okay, we got a 67 Mercury Cyclone, 66 Ford Fairlane GTA, 67, no, is that right? 64, 65 Comet Cyclone, Dino Don Nicholson's Comet Cyclone. We got a 60, what year is it? 66, 67, another Mercury Cyclone, Ford Futura, and 1965 Ford Galaxy Jolly Green Gasser, 66 Mercury Custom. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make fender skirts to go all around the Mercury Custom. I'm going to turn the Mercury Custom into a hover car. I'm going to build the Jolly Green Gasser as a custom, as a Ford Galaxy Custom, not as a gasser. I'm going to build the Lincoln Futura stock, but I'm going to give it a wicked cool paint job and detail the rear and front grille. Now as far as the Dino Don Nicholson Eliminator 2 Mercury Cyclone, I'm either going to use the suspension out of that for the 66 Fairlane, or I'm going to use the suspension and roll bar interior out of this to go into the Fairlane. The reason is I used to race a 1966 Ford Fairlane over at Gateway International Speedway, St. Louis. I raced street stock, so I had original equipment, all original, numbers matching, 289 with an FMX transmission, all original. Now this usually comes with a C4 transmission. How I lucked out and got a Ford Motorsport transmission, I don't know. The key thing is the Ford Motorsport transmission had overdrive at 70, no, had passing gear at 70 and overdrive at 90. So I mean, it would literally rock. Okay, that little 289, a lot of people that are not Ford guys don't know, but that's one of the strongest, fastest, highest RPM, high revenous, hard runningest little engines Ford ever made. They put them in the Cobras before they put the 427s in them. Now, what I want to do is I want to make my 66 Ford Fairlane dream car. So I'm going to build it as a hot rod, a combination hot rod slash racing car, just short of being a funny car. Okay, it's going to have the drag racing suspension and the roll bar, etc. Okay, so I'm probably going to take the interior out of here because this is already set up with a custom roll bar and racing interior. Okay, I'm not going to use the 429 or 427 out of this, but I will probably use the 427 out of the Eliminator. I'm also probably going to use, well, wait a minute, I had another one here. I might, yeah, I think I'm going to use this because doesn't this have, yeah, this has got the engine option with the blower. So I'm going to use a 671 blower, but I'll probably use the exhaust out of this because the exhaust, yeah, the exhaust is a little better. Those are more or less blueprinted headers, which is better than what you've got coming out of here for running on the street or having it street legal. At any rate, I'm going to run with this exhaust, go with the blower and the air inductor. I'm going to jack the rear end up just a hair, even with the front suspension off of one of these. I'm going to build the frames before I do anything else and see which one sets up higher naturally. Because the Fairlane, because of the design, it always looked like it was dragging ass. Now the Mercury Cyclone, it's got a 427 as well, but I haven't opened it up, so I don't know if it's got any custom go fasters. Yeah, I think it's got the stock 427. Now I'm going to use all the original details off of the Ford GTA, but I'm going to not put this little Dumaflachi on the front of the grill. I pulled this off of my grill as soon as I saw that I could, because I liked the look of the grill without this thing out front dividing it. I don't know what. I guess it was supposed to look like a reticle or something. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I didn't like it. Took it off. I never had this 390 hood because I didn't have a 390. I always ran 328s or 289s. I raced a guy on 44 that had a 69 green fastback 390, and he come up alongside me on 44 revving his engine and, you know, trying to get me to race. And I looked at him and I said okay, and I kicked it in the rear end and I took off. I hit passing gear at 70, overdrive at 90, kept my foot in its rear end. And this guy started coming up behind me, and he was just coming up on my right rear quarter, and all of a sudden smoke started coming out of his exhaust and then out from under his engine, and he started fading. And I looked in the rear view mirrors and I watched him pull over the emergency lane. Now, a month or two later, this guy drives by in this beat up station wagon. He goes, "Is that your Fairlane?" And I was like, yeah. At the time I had 4 of them. I had them all nose to tail, nose to tail, nose to tail. I was out front working on the 2-door, and he goes up the block, parks, walks down. He says, "What have you got in that thing?" I'm like, "Why?" He says, "I raced you on 44 a month or so ago, and I blew my engine trying to keep up with you, and I had just rebuilt it, and it was a 390. And I says, "You don't even want to know what I've got in this." And he's like, "Why?" I said, "It ain't nothing but a 289 small block." He's like, "No way." I opened up the hood and showed him this little 289 small block. He just looked down in disgust, shook his head, and walked away. He didn't even have anything further to say. He could not believe that he'd spent a month or two rebuilding that 390, and this 289 just walked away from him. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do with the Mercury Comet. I got that cheap, along with another couple of cars, through a deal online on Facebook, one of the guys that sells off of Facebook. So I'm probably just going to hold it back for parts or use it for greeblies or engines or whatever. Now this looks like it's tubbed out. Looks like the rear end, the trunk and everything's tubbed out on this one. I'm sure this one is. So whichever chassis sits higher and fits better under the Fairlane, it's going under the Fairlane. I'm probably going to have to use the original Fairlane hood and then putty over where these 2 pieces of chrome go. The air inductors are supposedly, they're pseudo fake air inductors is what they are. They're nothing more than badges. But I'm going to have to putty over these and then cut a hole out for the blower. At any rate, when I get it done, it's going to look hot. And I'm going to have to put the racing wheels on it, but I'm going to go ahead and keep the white walls and original hubcaps on the side in case I want to swap them out. So I won't permanently glue the front wheels or the rear wheels on. I'll just have them on there for show. Alright, let's have a look at a couple of trucks. Alrighty, we're looking at some faux moat coat trucks. Now, I've had every one of these trucks, and I've had every one of these trucks and many more, and I've had 3 of these. 3. I had 2 78 half tons, and my last one was a 78 or 79 3/4 ton. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the roll bar and all the hot rod go faster stuff with this, put it on my Bronco, put the roll bar and everything in the Bronco, do the Bronco up really nice, and put scratch build some speakers for the back, and put bucket seats in the back, because I had one of these I really tricked out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this up just exactly like my old half-ton / 3/4 ton, because one of the half-tons had this shit brown paint job, and the 79 3/4 ton had almost exactly the same paint job. So I'm just going to make this look like a a hard-working farm truck. I'm not going to go with the chrome wheels. I'm going to probably strip the chrome wheels down and paint them white and rust them up. Anyway, this 71, this is just going to be another work truck. I had one of these. I had a 71 that I bought. I actually traded. What I traded for? Oh, jeez. I think I bought it. This guy couldn't get it running. I think I bought it off him for 50 bucks. As soon as I heard it run, I knew exactly what was wrong with it. And all that was wrong with it was a vacuum leak. It literally took me 5 minutes to fix a vacuum leak. And it run like, once I blew all the smoke and carbon out of it, it run like striped ass 8. And when he heard it run without that vacuum leak, and without, he had adjusted the carburetor so it was dumping enough fuel to compensate for the vacuum leak. So it was burning black when I got rid of the vacuum leak, because it was just over fueling really bad. So I tweaked the carburetor back to what it should be, set the timing, set the points, and that thing just run like a top. He couldn't believe he sold the truck to me for 50 bucks. And it was, God, what color was it? It was flat black. And I actually lost that truck up in High Ridge one year. I got into a little trouble and it got towed, and by the time I figured out where it was at, the tow bill and the storage fee was more than what I had paid for the truck, so I just said to heck with it. Anyway, so that's what I got going with the Ford Bronco, the Ford four-wheel drive, and the old custom F100 four-wheel drive. You will see all of these in production yet someday in the future.